Tonight, we have a shocking new development in the case of Australia's worst ever child abuser, Ashley Griffith. A current affair already exposed the missed opportunities to arrest the childcare teacher 10 months earlier. Well, now it appears his offending could have been stopped more than 10 years earlier. Live now to reporter Dan Nolan with the details. Dan, this is appalling. What can you tell us?
Well, Layla, Ashley Griffith was sentenced to a minimum of 27 years in jail for the most horrific crimes committed against children spread over almost 2 decades. We can now reveal that Queensland Police investigated a complaint made against him all the way back in 2009. So that was 13 years before he was eventually arrested and his abuse finally brought to a stop. The mother of that child has provided a statement to A Current Affair about the case, which involved her 4-year-old son who had been under Griffith's supervision at a Brisbane childcare centre. She says her son told her, "Ashley hurt me," and went on to provide graphic detail of sexual abuse which confirmed concerns she thought she was imagining. The mother then took her son to a Brisbane police station where he was interviewed, she says, for just a few brief minutes, by 2 police officers he didn't know. The officers determined no offence had occurred. The mother says, "We left the police station feeling bewildered, disbelieved and possibly crazy. I tried calling a different police station on another occasion and the officer in charge dismissed my concerns, saying it sounded like a rough nappy change." Fast forward to last year when Ashley Griffith's name and offending was finally made public and this mother's worst fears were confirmed. She says, "We tried so many years ago to make it known that Ashley Griffith is a dangerous paedophile. No one listened, no one cared. I just want to say I am so sorry. I tried and I carry the guilt of not trying hard enough."
Oh, Dan, she
Layla?
tried so hard. She has nothing to feel guilty about. What about Queensland Police? What have they had to say?
Well, a police spokesperson confirmed the parent of the child made a complaint back in 2009 alleging, quote, "inappropriate touching by a childcare worker." Detectives interviewed the male child who did not make disclosures of an offence, according to the spokesperson. The matter, though, has now been referred to the Ethical Standards Command to further examine the police response. The spokesperson pointing out that since 2009, QPS has implemented several changes and improvements to its processes in handling child abuse cases. Of course, this wasn't the only child who made a complaint to Queensland Police about Ashley Griffith. We've previously reported the case involving a 3-year-old girl who reported abuse in 2022, who was also interviewed by detectives, and they also found no evidence of an offence. Layla?
So, Dan, this new case brings the total now to 3 complaints made about Ashley Griffith before he was finally arrested. Could there be more?
Well, Queensland Police claim it has now done a full audit of all of its databases and found there were a total of 3 previous complaints. It would seem that they were unaware of this 2009 complaint until the mother contacted them. She was referred to the Australian Federal Police, who are the ones who arrested Griffith based on videos that he'd uploaded to the dark web. AFP officers informed the mother that there was no video of abuse against her son and that all the recorded abuse was against female children only, and they're adamant all of those victims have been identified. The mother says, "I am grateful that there were no images found. I am grateful my son was not identified as a victim, but I know he was harmed and I am convinced there are more victims." Layla?
Well, thank you, Dan. Let's bring in Hetty Johnston from Safeguarding People Australia now. Hetty, you've spoken to the mother of this little boy from the historic complaint. How's she doing?
Oh, she's angry. She's angry and she's frustrated and she feels guilt. I can't find words. She's distraught, very emotional, and understandably so.
You've been fighting this battle yourself for 30 years, trying to get action taken against these kind of offenders and the families not being listened to. I mean, how are you feeling? It's incredibly frustrating, isn't it?
Oh, it's so frustrating, Layla. Especially when you know this, what can be done and what should be getting done. When you think I know how to fix most of this stuff, but no, it's really hard to get these really rigid, old dinosaur systems to actually change. The resistance to change and the way we do things around here is incredible, and it's going to take a lot of determination and courage to change that and to make those systems change. If we ever want our children to be safe,
yeah,
it has to happen.
But in these kind of cases, when children come forward and talk of abuse, is that something that police can use to get search warrants, to get evidence, or are they hamstrung because people don't believe children this young?
Yes, look, repeated and repeated. In 95 to 98% of the time, children have been found to be telling the truth when it comes to these types of matters. We know that only 10% of allegations that go to police finish up being charged, and that less than that are convicted, and 1% of those go to jail. So, I mean, that's all we need to know about how this system is, how it fails every day so many children. But children don't have capacity to walk into a police station and making a disclosure. They are not adults. They can't do that. They're scared, they're frightened, they've been hurt, and we can't expect them to actually meet the requirements of what is a dinosaur system that is just so far behind national standards, it's not funny.
Now, I'm sure that in most cases police are doing their very best and training has changed in the way that they interview children. But as you say, the whole setup of a child going into a police station and talking to a stranger is difficult. Is there something else? Is there another way that we can do this?
Look, yes, I think there is, and I think police are doing the best they can do. I mean, our law says there's two types of law, or two tests, if you like. There's a balance of probabilities and beyond reasonable doubt. Now, police have to have evidence that meets the threshold of beyond reasonable doubt. If they don't get that, they cannot continue an investigation. They just can't. They're not allowed to. The problem with the system is when that happens, which is 90% of the time, those allegations, those disclosures just drop off the radar. There is no safety net in the balance of probabilities. There is no enforcement or enforceable way to actually use that information and to protect children from people like Griffiths on the balance of probabilities that they are a danger to children. What happens now, that just gets appealed, it gets turned over. We need to strengthen our systems to use that information. We're telling our children, tell somebody. We're telling our families, and we've got laws across the country, failure to report, failure to protect, and yet our systems are the ones that are actually failing.
Yeah, and more children are getting hurt. This mother, she's calling on the Queensland Premier to have the courage and determination to protect our children, and the new government has promised an inquiry, Hetty. Is that enough? Is it a good start? What's your views on an inquiry?
Look, I think thank you to Christopherli government. I mean, thank you. But let's give this inquiry some teeth. Let's give it a chance to actually make a difference. We can't just have another inquiry that is not going to fundamentally and systematically change the way we are dealing with disclosures, because therein lies the problem. And it's going to require changes to law, it's going to require changes to police procedure, and it's not just the legal entities, it's education, health, child protection, working with children. These things are all intermingled. That cares for, supports and responds appropriately to these children and to their families, because the gap they're falling through now, Layla, is astronomical, and it is causing harm beyond belief. The harm that it's causing is just incredibly sad and soul-destroying, and it continues.
Okay, Hetty Johnston, thank you for all the work you're doing. This mother says our children are not safe until something changes. I think she's right. I think you think she's right, and I appreciate everything that you do in advocating for children and families.
Thank you, Leila.